Hello, everyone. Uh, Excited to be here. My name is Stu Schwartzapfel. I'm the EVP of Media Partnerships at iSpot, and I am joined by my wonderful client and partner, Traci Will, VP of Analytics at Gamut. And we are here today to talk to you guys about some of the challenges in tackling local OTT measurement, which I know is kind of a big topic, but we're gonna try to get into some of the specifics as we see them, based on the longstanding partnership that iSpot and Gamut have in place.
Thanks, Stu. So we care a great deal about local OTT measurement at Gamut. And in the last, say, 5 years, we've probably vetted close to 100 data partners. And we found that those that truly can measure local OTT are a special bunch. We started out our journey in a very high touch and custom and exploratory way. With iSpot in the last, since July 2020, we've measured billions of impressions, been able to give local OTT measurement to thousands of advertisers, and many thousands of campaigns have been measured.
And, just to kind of piggyback on that quickly, we started kind of looking at a cursory level at how we can measure OTT campaigns for Gamut at scale that were local in nature, and kind of evolved into then looking at the business impact of those campaigns. So kind of going from, cross-platform incrementality to the conversion or attribution associated with those campaigns. And when we think about OTT and we read all the headlines in trade press, right? I think it's pretty obvious, and there's a lot of data to support that advertisers are shifting their media mix more and more from, a balance of linear and streaming to a dominant portion just to linear, right? So that migration is happening right before our eyes. But I think when we read those headlines, we often think to ourselves, okay, brands like Coke and Pepsi or Ford and GM, right? I'm seeing ads for Ford while I watch a show on Hulu, right? People are thinking about big national advertisers, and that shift is certainly happening. But what we're here to talk to you about today is the great scale that's happening on a more local basis with smaller brands and local brands who are also dipping their toe into the water in terms of investing money into OTT, and we're trying to measure it.
So we talked about this earlier, Stu. There's no lack of standardization on the TV side of measurement. And as you talk about local and we talk about OTT, we've introduced big data now, and we're definitely not at a place where there is a standardization happening. And because of this at Gamut, we hear all the time that our customers are confused about what's realistic measurement at the local level and what is not. And I find that when I step back and I think about all of the time and resources that are being wasted chasing after things that might not be stable, that might be shiny objects, that we really do need standardization with streaming measurement, because with a great amount of data here, with big data comes a lot of responsibility. And so in Gamut Research and Analytics, we're taking the opportunity to consult our clients and educate them on what is good data and what is not. And I think of it akin to the starfish parable. At the end of the day, while we lack this standardization, we do not lack the knowledge at Gamut, and we've learned a great deal through our partnership with you. It's our duty to understand and advise our clients in this measurement with many measurement options. It's a sea of measurement options that are in many ways imperfect. And I go to sleep knowing at night that with good data and good partnerships like yours, that we're able to make a difference for our clients.
And how do we do it, right? So as I kind of alluded to earlier, the partnership has really evolved over time. And what we're doing holistically to help Traci and team measure all of these local OTT campaigns is impression measurement down to the DMA level. Obviously, that is pertinent to local, right? Is double clicking on where that campaign is actually happening, where it's addressably being served, right? Then we want to understand what is the incrementality that that campaign is providing, and the associated reach and frequency of that incrementality above and beyond linear, right? Because advertisers who are investing in streaming always want to know what is the unique benefit that that investment is providing above and beyond what they're already investing in linear. We want to understand on a cross-platform basis how much retail traffic a particular campaign drove. Perhaps if we're dealing with a chain of car dealerships, right? Or if we're dealing with an online retailer, how many web visits did the campaign drive, right? So depending on who the advertiser is, we want to look on a cross-platform basis, not just at the incrementality, but also on the outcomes that it drove. And lastly, of course, context is everything. So having competitive intelligence on the ready to understand how brands are spending their money across virtually every category is important to understanding what success looks like.
And back to the local level. So through these billions of impressions, we're able to see every DMA that we're running our campaigns against. And this matters to our customers a great deal, because when you're talking to local customers, you're talking to them about the metrics and the results and the impact that you spoke of in their locality. The region isn't good enough. The aggregate to the state or the country is not something that we want to calculate against their level of impressions. We need to be able to tell them how their market compared to the rest. And we're able to do this with the partnership that we've put together with you guys at that local level. We were able, with all of this data, because there are billions of impressions, you'll hear me talk a lot about statistical stability and reliability. It's so, so important when you're dealing with local customers. And we are able to, with all these many impressions, able to give benchmarks for 18 key advertiser categories now, and the household unique reach for our campaigns against that TV audience, demonstrating the ability to extend the audience for our screen on the wall advertising is between 46 and 80% unique reach. These are big numbers. We're really proud of them, and we're thankful to be able to measure this with you at every key category that we're looking at right now. When we talk about tips for advertisers, we like to bring it back to alignment, and sometimes the simplest things are the most important. When we're advising our customers, we talk about things that sometimes seem obvious, but when there's so many options in measurement and so many providers in the ecosystem, and when we are lacking that standardization that you referred to, it's really important to take a breath and make sure that we're measuring and recommending something that is aligned with the objective of the campaign, the customer journey, and then aligning the measurement with that. The most important thing in my mind for our clients to do when we're being offered so many things in measurement in an area that's not standardized yet is take the information back to your data team and make sure it makes sense from a statistical reliability lens, especially when we're talking about local markets that care about the performance in their area. In the long run, analyzing the feasibility of something is going to save a lot of time and investment in the long run, and it's really the most important thing today.
And I would just kind of add to that, right? Like, just to provide like an example to kind of make it real. In a lot of this measurement that we're doing, to Traci's point, there is no industry accepted standards that we all have to adhere to. And there are a lot of data providers that each have different standards in how they measure. So let's talk about geolocation, for example, right? If that chain of car dealerships I mentioned earlier wants to understand what sort of foot traffic they got as a result of doing a campaign with Gamut, and we're sourcing our data from a third party for that foot traffic, of which there are many that provide that sort of geolocation data, right? Are we being transparent with the customers about things like panel size, any deterioration around that panel that the industry is facing for reasons that perhaps are outside of our control? What is the appropriate scale of impressions that are needed on a local level to be feasible to run an attribution campaign, right? Like, these are not national campaigns with big brands behind them. They're local campaigns with smaller brands behind them and local businesses behind them, right? They're not always generating hundreds of millions of impressions. So what is the threshold, right? So I think these are the types of things, right, Traci, that we just need to kind of be transparent with our customers, because that list of standards does not exist yet. And so transparency is everything, and just managing expectations.
Definitely. It's ask a lot of questions. If something doesn't make sense, keep asking questions until it does make sense. And I like to also think of it as I'm helping somebody and I'm caring for them if I'm willing to tell them that what they are looking for isn't feasible. Or if we have to tell someone, no, that measurement doesn't work in that tiny market. A lot of times we can make it happen. Sometimes we can't. And we always like to be really transparent about that, because we don't want to send anyone down a path that's going to waste their time and their resources.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Thanks so much for joining us and learning about what we're working on in the way of OTT measurement, and looking forward to getting up in front of you again soon.
Thanks, Stu.